Hello everyone, Chrisa is here, and today we're going to take a little tour on the inside of our body and specifically at looking at the bone structure of our pelvis, our hips, our legs, and our feet. What I'm aiming to do is put things a little bit into perspective for you, for all of us, just to understand why we do the exercises we do, why I suggest that you look at things the way I am suggesting you to, and give you an opportunity to start exploring your walks from a biomechanical perspective. So aside from any rules that you hear in tango or any other dances and activities that you do, um, understanding how our body was built to work in order to make safer and healthier choices while challenging ourselves. So, challenge is always good if we know when to challenge, what to challenge, in which direction, and what our goals and what our options are. So, I hope that we'll get this opportunity, or this will be a starting point for us to review things in such a way. So we're starting slowly, so it's not going to be too much anatomy on you. So we're starting slowly, and we're going to be exploring our walks in this one from a biomechanical perspective. Enjoy. So let's start at looking at our legs. So this is looking down at our feet from the hips, and you can see that nothing is really straight. So everything is sort of curved and obliquely positioned. And when we get down to our feet, you can see our ankles and how there is a tendency to go outward and lift the inner part. So there is support through the arches and actually support of the arch and support from the outside of the foot. And this is our heel, and you can see how as it would receive, let's see, this is the heel, and you can see how it would receive the weight from the outer part and make its way as we move forward to the bigger toe. Now, if we look up in the hips to see how where the leg starts and how it connects to the pelvis, we'll see that it is set in an oblique position, not parallel to the floor. If we are going to respect that and move around what we call the hip axis, which you can see here, the movement is going up, but also coming in towards the center of the body. So now if we are to follow these shapes that we just saw before in the pictures, you will see that the lines that are created here are not exactly straight, right? When my leg swings forward, the heel comes in, as we were saying, towards the center of the body, and when I move back, my toes are turning in. So external rotation when you're swinging forward, internal rotation when you're swinging back, in order to stay to allow for the leg to swing around that hip axis that is set in an oblique position, as we were talking about before. You can also see how the foot lands. So the landing is very important, especially if you are a follower and you're wearing heels, things become a little bit tougher. So it's always important to be aware of the landing and manage it on the stiletto, which is not the easiest thing to do. So if we take a look at this transfer of weight, you will see that it's not a strong heel, but it's more with the intention of moving forward. And secondly, the transition of weight happens through the outer part of the foot, where the meaty part is, and we end up over, it finishes off over the big toe. Then when we reverse back, we receive from the inner part, but then we transfer through the outer part of the foot, where the rest of the toes can help with the transition, and there is more support compared to going over the arch. And this is something we need to be extra careful on, especially when in heels, which is exactly what we are going to be doing here. So start with normal size steps and try to feel all these things that we were talking about before. The support coming from the outside, the transition, the transfer of the weight happening through the outer part of the foot, the supporting and respecting the hip axis, allowing for the leg to swing through, and having an external rotation when we're moving forward and internal rotation when we're moving backwards. I know there are a lot of items, and with the free leg coming through with some force, it might be a little bit difficult to focus on all of them, but you can focus on each one at a time. And this is exactly what we're going to do now. So we're going to make things super small. So make super small steps, and this way you can focus exactly on the foot itself. So you can really feel how you can land on that outer part of the foot, even if you're wearing heels. For if you're not wearing heels, things are going to be a lot easier, and maybe it is worth actually attempting that without heels prior to to practicing with them. So you can focus on this, on the landing and on the transfer of weight itself, and feel how the for the four toes are accommodating that transfer of weight, with a final push being given by the big toe, but not that the big toe just gives the final push or makes the first attempt to receive the weight. If we're going backwards, that is, it is not the big toe doing all the work. On the contrary, you don't want to go over the arch, and you don't want to overweight that big toe. So if we take that, this time that we spent, and we go back to normal size steps, see if you can make the transfer, even though you make the steps bigger. See if you can create a transfer of the same quality. The reason being, we want a step that we oftentimes use on the dance floor and during our everyday life, of course. So let's see what happens if we make our steps bigger. So this is going to be a little bit more challenging, and the support from the heel and that first interaction with the floor will be stronger, but it is a kind of step that we use on the dance floor, and it will provide great insight for when we actually step, when how we actually allow for that swing to happen when we're going forward or back. The appropriate direction, the appropriate diagonal line will give us balance without tension. If we step a little bit away or a little bit too far in, we will have to tense up. And so if we go back to normal size steps, we will have the opportunity to test both of the alignments that we talked about. So from the longer steps, we had the chance to experience the importance of that central line, of central path of walk. Trying to see how that external rotation as we step forward allows for the heel to step a little bit further in. And then the alignment of the base, the alignment of the foot, that does allow for the transition to happen through the outer part of the foot. And overall, how both are related to each other.